The computer component here. Here early today. Oh well. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm John Miglosh for the WDMA, and we're going to be talking about marketing and mail today. And I hope you're having a good day. Here we go. Okay. Let's get over to Tom Fishburne. I did that. I think I did that. I don't know if I did that right or wrong. Anyway, change for the sake of change. What's your marketing plan? Change everything. Change the packaging, change the logo, change the agency, change the campaign. Then will our brand grow? I don't know. By then, I'll have changed jobs. And isn't that the truth? This is how you can get marketing, how marketing can destroy a company. It's really the truth. And, you know, that's been especially poignant to me because the number one reason that after years of dedicated partnership with brands, we've been fired is that a new person comes in. And it's just as simple as that. And one of the interesting things about direct marketing, which we'll get into a little more in a bit, is that you learn things through time. There's a legacy of not only of brand recognition, which we'll talk about, but there's also a legacy of data and of learning. And, you know, I get on the scale every day, like it or not. I face the facts. And sometimes the facts face me. And, but because I use the same scale every day, it tells me things that I may or may not want to hear. And I ask people, you know, there's a lot of measurement theory out there. And I did work at an industrial instrumentation company for a couple of years. And, you know, I tried to explain to well-trained engineers that it might be better, they might be better off with analog displays than digital. And in fact, we had a digital company come in and they didn't have like any digits to their display. And it was a meter that measured sewage going through big pipes. And they said, you know, when we first came out with this, we had the readout go out to 3 digits, and the operators would just spend all day trying to get that to level out. And they'd turn it up and they'd turn it down, but there was such a lag in the system. It's a huge system. It's a sewage treatment plant. You know, or it's the pipeline going into the sewage treatment plant. So if it's dry for a few days, it changes. If it rains suddenly, it changes. All kinds of things change. It's always changing. And they would be better off leaving it alone. And so we got rid of the precision and we just made it consistent. You know, we had a longer lag time in our machine. So it took averaging over time. I saw this in the ocean race this year. They would give you the boat speed in the last minute. And one team might be going down a wave and another going up a wave. And so you'd have 6 knots difference in speed of sailboats, which is a lot. But, you know, you'd come back again 12 hours later and there would be almost no change in the distance between the boats. And that's because we had needless precision. I was in high school when calculators came out, and you know, we were probably not allowed to use them, but in our homework we might. And our teacher, math teacher, would grade us down dramatically because he said those are not significant digits. Insignificant digits do more harm than good. And I see this all the time in articles, right? We'll get to an article where maybe I'll find it again. But it said almost 6.3% of marketers. And it didn't tell me how many marketers were in it, but probably it's not even 1,000. So that 0.3 is insignificant. And what? Almost 6.3, what? 6.276 or something? You know, it's just a math. It's insignificant math because they're you know, one difference, one or up or down, doesn't make a bit of difference. And so the change based on insignificance, which is almost always the case in marketing, is insane. And you basically destroy the heritage of what you've learned, because when you change a data system, you basically change your bathroom scale. So imagine changing your bathroom scale every day. So imagine you had 10 bathroom scales, and they're all reasonably similar, so you could get a trend out of it. But it'd be insane, right? Right? I hope you're getting this. This is advanced philosophical epistemology. This is my MA stuff. But it matters. It matters in business. Don't overmeasure and don't overchange. You can't change everything, and we'll get into that too. It'll be excellent. Okay, so marketers are the first to get bored by their own marketing. Okay, particularly when a new leader joins the group. Right? Oh my gosh, yes. And then you get a call a year later after you get fired by the new leader, and the board of directors wants to know if they tested you before they dumped you, since you'd been doing such stellar work for year after year after year. Oh, they did a back test. Well, a back test is just smoke and mirrors. It's a way to compare a real model with real results against a fantasy model. And a fantasy model almost always wins until you mail it. Right. We won't get into that today. While brands need fresh thinking to stay relevant, which is a fancy word for what I feel like today, consistency and continuity is underrated. Okay, and there was a great study, and I talked about it, I don't know, a week or two ago. Ritson was talking about it, which is down further in the article. Byron Sharp defined it as the probability that a buyer will notice, recognize, and or think of a brand in buying situations. Okay, and apparently there's a great case study, which I found very easily by typing out Tropicana's disastrous packaging. Just clip this part right here. In 2009, that led to a 20% drop in sales in 2 months, which was, they were, I think, about 200 million in sales, and we'll get that in the next article, but they dropped 20 or 30 million in 2 months. Whew. And so there's long been a marketing assumption that advertising experiences wear out. It's funny because my dad ran an advertising service company, and it's just a weekly column that the local businessman could put in his newspaper, and we've had accounts for 50 years, and people talk about him, and if he misses, it's like people get used to seeing it. People want to see what they're used to seeing. Okay, there's no sell-by date in advertising. Okay, Mark Ritson says wear out is not an issue that many in the industry once thought. In fact, that study showed graphs going absolutely straight across. If Miller brought back the taste great, less filling for Miller Lite, which is what launched Miller Lite and what's really launched light beer. Light beer had been around for, 40, 50 years before that, and everybody knew how to make it. Nobody knew how to sell it. And so they took some old retired football players, that were a little heavier now than their playing days, and they had this pretend fight about whether it's because it tasted great that they liked it or because it was less filling and had lower calories. They didn't say, and you guys need to lose a few pounds. They just said, you can have the same, essentially they were saying, you can have the same taste. And they made it into a little bit of a masculine duel. And that wouldn't hurt them, right? That Bud Light could steal it now, and it probably, people would think that it was always Bud Light's slogan, but they won't. Okay, by trying to avoid wear out, most marketers are missing the benefits of wear in. So anyway, this year we're disrupting how we do marketing. Didn't we do that last year? Last year we transformed marketing. No, that was 2 years ago. Oh, right. We're reinventing marketing. And I love the way Ritson's got the guy's hand over his, oh yeah, we're reinventing marketing. About time, the other person says. We need to stay focused on our marketing priorities and not get distracted by every shiny new, look, a squirrel. Boy, is that a perfect cartoon. That never gets old. We need to change the packaging. We need to change the advertising. We need to change the agency. And the CEO says we need to change the CMO, right? Which is a constant problem. And partly because they noodle with the wrong knobs, right? They kill the data guy and they play around with the creative. And if they were testing, if they were testers, then you would see, they would see that made no sense, but they don't. They just launch a new one, brand new, big splash, lots of money. Tropicana, I think, spent $30 million reimagining their logo and all that. We'll get to that in a sec. It's time for a new campaign. I'm tired of seeing this one. It's totally run its course. Let's retire this campaign now. But we haven't even run it yet. Let's also change our packaging, logo, and agency. Right, exactly. Okay, so I found the Tropicana failure in redesign, okay, from Marion. And this is what it looked like, 100% orange juice. This is a better slide, before and after. Okay, so here's the Tropicana that I remember, the arced thing around the orange, and it's like I'm sipping this through a straw right out of a real orange, right? And I was born not far from orange country. I remember the orange tower we visited in the middle of orange groves as far as you could see. Florida doesn't look like that anymore, but you don't hardly see an orange grove. Anyway, but the after was, this is a glass of orange juice. You can't really tell. And it just says 100% orange. Doesn't even say juice, which is a scary kind of thing. And then it has Tropicana on the side. And instead of a orange cap, they made it an orange little orange. A literal orange with texture and a leaf on it. And there's a lot of stuff about here. See, here's the little orange cap that they put on it. How creative can you get? They changed the logo. They changed they did an advertising campaign that basically said squeeze is natural, and they were trying to get squeeze to be, like go viral or something. I don't know. And they talk about the emotion they were trying to build into orange juice. When you step back, if you talk to like an accounting person and said, we're going to put emotion into orange juice, it's like they'd look at you like a deer in the headlights. And we underestimated the deep emotional bond that consumers had with the original packaging. What we didn't get was the passion this very loyal group of consumers have. That wasn't something that came out in the research, because they probably didn't ask their customers, and they didn't test it against their customers. See, we test for real, right? Which would you buy? And but the article goes on to talk a lot of schmutz about emotion, but I think this is really the issue right here. Many consumers didn't recognize the product on the supermarket shelves. If my wife told me to go get orange juice, I might recognize the Tropicana. I would never recognize the new Tropicana. Some loyal customers saw the 100% orange juice, and it doesn't really even say juice in the big letters. It just says orange, which is a color, and asked themselves if the product was still the same as Tropicana Pure Premium that they always trusted. Right. I would just get confused and grab the generic. I'd get the Food Club orange juice. My wife said, orange juice, here's orange juice. In fact, I might think that was generic. It looks like a generic. And that is brought out later in the article, that it looks cheap and ugly. Most consumers described it as ugly, a low-range supermarket brand. Right. Food Club. Tropicana had always been perceived as a premium brand, okay? And then there's this stuff about consumers feel an emotional bond with the appearance of a product. No, it's like, this tasted good before, but I guess it went out of business, I mean, my whole life I've bought Graf soda. Graf's 50/50 as a sour mix. It's gone. I can't find it. I changed supermarkets just to go get it, and it's not there anymore. And it got bought out, and it must have got discontinued. And it was a 60-year run or something. But now you find something else. I use Squirt, and I have to add real lemon. There's no emotional bond. I am not mourning the loss of graphs. No, I just can't find it anymore. Move on. That's the way it is. What can you do? Okay. Branding elements on packaging cannot all be changed at once. Right. Why? Because when your wife tells you to go get orange juice, you won't even be able to find it. And that's a basic thing. She says, here's a picture. Takes a picture. She literally would do that. She'll take a picture of the one in the refrigerator because she likes certain kinds of coffee creamer. I don't even use coffee creamer, so I don't care, but that's what she does. And so I have to find that picture. Well, if you can't find the picture, let's go on. How small business are spending their marketing dollars, okay? And before the internet, and I was on two customer calls on Friday. Excellent background. And one was a supermarket, and it was really fascinating to hear how their spending has changed and how up to date they were on all kinds of technology that they were investigating. Like the moving billboards on your shopping cart, for example, that keep track of where you are in the store and what you might be looking at, and then offer you the brand name who's paying extra. Although the supermarket might make more on the generic. Okay, small business, but it did get into a good hunk of direct mail. Small businesses still rely on traditional direct mail marketing for their contemporary marketing campaigns. And I've got some ideas for that. Grocery store, because couponing is, the problem with couponing in general media is that it's not enough to get somebody who's used to shopping at a particular store to switch. Because why? Because they're used to stuff. They know where things are. When I go to the Sendix, I don't know where anything is. When I go to the Piggly Wiggly, I kind of know where things are, right? Oh, here it is. Almost 2.6% said they'll use direct mail. Almost? John. I think is this John? John Hall. John, you'd get a big fat F on that one in my high school math class. Another reason for direct mail that people are forgetting about, and I may do this, my friend Sarah Fletcher had a search engine optimization marketing article, but another one of my expert friends said SEO is just dying because first of all, how can you get to the top of the page? Andrew Ettinger makes the point that if you're an HVAC, Angie's List is going to be up there. All these other aggregators, even Yelp might have people up there. And so you basically got 17 yellow pages that are going to take the first page. Okay, there is like zero. If you type HVAC near me, there's zero actual companies that'll come up on your phone. Okay, that's what you're facing in SEO. You can't win that game. Okay, and if you can't get on the first page, it says here 95% of all web traffic goes to page 1. If you're not at the top of page 1, you're pretty much dead, unless they're giving your actual page, your actual company name or something very close to it. And that means you got to be in their head before you decide to search. Okay, and your website has to be up to date. But then Sarah's article was saying, that's almost impossible to get there nowadays. But Sarah's article was saying that AI now is able to create 1,000 replica pages of the same page that are all slightly different enough for SEO and for the crawlers not to realize that they're the same. Okay, different names, different URLs, different images, different copy. AI can generate that slight difference, but they all backlink to each other and make those backlinks way, 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 way more powerful than anything you could ever build on your website. You could never optimize your website better than AI can build 100 websites that all backlink to themselves. Do you understand that? It's fascinating. It's dead. You're much, much better off in mail. And email, we all know the problems with email. We just don't want to look at it, right? So it mentions this excellent article by John Hall, only that one word almost was my only criticism. And here's the Teradel survey that he's citing. And it's, beautiful, well laid out, downloads really nice. You should go to Teradel, but I'll put it in the show notes on WDMA. Direct mail, 81% of respondents plan to increase or maintain direct mail efforts over the next year. Okay? And that was what those two companies were calling about. They were calling about, how do we improve our direct mail? Can we grow the company with direct mail? Fascinating. Wonderful. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will know you're smart.